soul. That's the so-called false self or ego self. So these things will be cleared out, and in your soul, your pristine soul in its pure golden form will be revealed. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sabha Kabuhai. Every soul, the love of Krishna is there potentially in every soul. This is a big question about nature or nurture. Is it there or already existing, our Svarup, or is it to be attained through practice, through association? But whatever it is, the thing is that Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sabha Kabuhai, it's potentially there in every soul. So I see it like this, that if you have an environment which is conducive to something to happen, so you'd have for example, you'd have a room which is conducive to a certain activity to go on there. Like if it was a meeting, you'd have a long table and chairs on each side. So that's very conducive, isn't it, for having a meeting? Or another type would be a room with a nice, in the winter time, with a nice hearth, blazing log fire, you know, and the snow's falling outside, and you have the nice leaden windows in a cottage. That's more conducive to sitting around the fire, telling stories like this. So similarly, the heart is in a conducive environment to receive Krishna consciousness. So it's there, again, achinta beda bed. It's there and it's not there. Not there in the sense that it's not manifested. If we would say a seed, an acorn is a seed, but that's containing a huge oak tree, which can do many things. It can give shelter to birds, give shade to people or animals, and then produce the fruit which contains the seed of the future oak trees and so on. All that contained within this small thing looks very insignificant and not very hard nut, not able really to do anything. But in the right environment, you put it in the right soil and give water and sunlight and so forth, then so we can say the oak tree is contained within the seed, though it's not manifested and we can't see it. So heart is like that. Possibility, potentiality. Sattasya Shuddhim, when the alloy is eliminated from your ego, from your present self-conception, then your whole existence is purified. Your self-conception is false ego. It's full of alloy, and that will be destroyed by your continued God consciousness. As your existence is purified, gradually you will find the Lord, Paramatma, within yourself, Paramatma Bhaktim. You'll be able to understand who you are, Jivatma, and who is supporting you from above, Paramatma. Then, Jnana Chavigyan, you will find a special type of God conception that will show to you both the Lord and his potency, the different potencies and the owner of those potencies. So, Jnana Chavigyan, so that's a variegated spiritual existence, not an undifferentiated oneness, Keval Advaita. Viraga Yuktam, you'll feel the effect of this twofold, both non-attraction to the mundane world and properly adjusted attraction toward the truth. You'll feel such development within you. Sweet home. So continue with God consciousness, and it will take you to the desired position. It will take you back home, and you'll be able to conceive how sweet that home is. If you somehow try to maintain the fire of God consciousness, all alloy within you will be destroyed. Your purified self will come out from the fire, and you will find everything your heart really desires. In this verse it is said, Jnana Vijnana Viraga Yuktam. you'll be able to clearly conceive both the knowledge of the whole and the knowledge of the different parts and potencies of the whole in detail. It will be clear in your heart. So your faith will not be simply blind. Do not think it to be so. It's not that faith means only blind faith, blind emotion. That plane where your heart is to live is not a domain of only blind emotion, but there is proper knowledge there. It is the land of proper understanding, where the centre exists, the Lord, as well as so many potencies which are controlled by him. You will be able to acquire such a position of understanding. So, Krishna and his potencies. That's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the talk between Lord Chaitanya and Sanatana Goswami, where he's explaining all about Sambandha Gyan, which means Krishna and his potencies. So Krishna is always, with his expanded potencies, never alone. I mean, it's unthinkable, really, to us, Krishna alone. Sometimes you see in people's houses, or, murtis of Krishna alone. Yes, we have our Krishna murti there. Oh, very nice. But where is on the picture? So you'd always have, even if you don't have even Radha or some gopis or gopis, always there'll be the Vrindavan, the environment, cows, swans, and deer, and different. So it's very important. There's no such thing really as Krishna on his own. There is a conception like that. Paramatma and Vasudeva, Savamiti, Samahatma Sudulava, yeah. Where in the Gita, Krishna says, I, as Vasudeva, am the source and the substance of everything. That's the first personal conception behind the impersonal. So within consciousness there is personality initially, Vasudeva, and then it's continuing. Then Krishna with his potency, What
means Vasudeva? What is that?
Vasudeva actually represents pure consciousness, or Krishna consciousness in its initial stage. You have Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Niruddha. Sankarshan is the ego, right? Aniruddha and Pradyumna, the mind and the intelligence, and Vasudeva, consciousness, Chitta, the Chitta. So the Chitta, the consciousness in its pure state, will be Krishna conscious. So we can say, therefore, that those who are even in the have the impersonal conception or realization, it's not pure consciousness. It cannot be unalloyed consciousness, because that would have to be Krishna consciousness. And then Krishna with his potencies. So gradually, he's saying here, as we gradually become purified, then we'll realize Krishna, but not Krishna alone. Krishna and his potencies. To realize ourselves as part and parcel of the whole, the absolute whole, the organic whole. So what is our part? What is our part there? What part we are playing? What part we are to play there in the absolute whole? And that's our ego, real ego. Self-ego. Ego just meaning I am. So not I'm not. I merge into the absolute and then I'm not anymore. There's only one undifferentiated oneness. But that oneness is full of variegation. Individual souls who are all having their part to play. So to find that gradually. So dive deep into God consciousness. It is the key to the highest success of life, and it will take you to your home. And that home is so sweet. It's not a foreign land. Not that you will take so much risk, only to go to some unknown place where you may be dealt with in any way. Another place, he says, in Home Comfort, I believe, he says that this material world is so horrible that anybody can deal with me, treat me in any way they like, But there, all are loving guardians and have our best interest at heart. Just imagine, everybody is helping everybody else and self-forgetful of their own interests and helping others to go to Krishna. There will be no such apprehension, no such doubt or suspicion. But as much as you will be able to make progress on that side, you will find such sweetness, such home-like comfort and confidence. So Shraddha, Ado Shraddha, in the beginning, faith. So that faith in that world, in that land, is the most important thing. Otherwise, don't bother. Forget it. Go home. Just get a job and do something. You know, if we believe such a place exists, and must exist, and is our real home, it's not like, you know, like a fairyland, fantasy. La La Land. I want to go to La La Land. Sorry. Heart capture. Once a devotee was out preaching and distributing books. He entered an office to speak with a lawyer. But the lawyer wouldn't allow the devotee any time. He said, "I'm so busy, don't you see? So many clients are standing in line. They're queuing up to see me. And you've come to talk with me." Hare Krishna. How is it possible for me to spare any time for all these idle talks about religion? He would not spare the devotee a moment. But that devotee somehow made him hear something about Krishna consciousness and presented him with the book, Search for Sri Krishna. After reading a few pages, the lawyer ordered his secretary, "Pay $50 to this gentleman. Write him a check." So that was actually Rishikesh Maharaj, whose name is Dayada Granga at that time, preaching in Calcutta. He told Guru Maharaj that story, so Guru Maharaj is re-relating that. So the meaning is that even though the man was very reluctant, you know, he looked at the book, saw something, and he was touched. That's the potency. Krishna Shakti, coming through the pure devotee, has that type of Shakti, you know. So that's why Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Bhagavad Gita as it is, so many editions of the Gita already existing in the world. How many devotees were made from that? No, we can't say none, because definitely some people would have been affected and inspired and encouraged in their spiritual life. After all, there were different editions in the Gaudiya Math already. Bhakti Pradeep Tirtha Maharaj, he had his edition of the Gita, and so forth and so forth. But Srila Prabhupada's Gita, just the potency was there, you know, because he's presented as it is by a pure soul. So then somebody asked, "Maharaj, actually, that lawyer specialized in criminal law. If he read the part about Krishna stealing butter, perhaps he was attracted by that." It's making a little kind of joke. That was Badri Narayan Prabhu, secretary of Sridhar Maharaj at that time, said that. And then Guru Maharaj laughed. Then he should have concocted a case against that devotee, saying, "You've come to introduce this idea of God stealing? Then everyone in this world will imitate him. They'll all be thieves." And then the devotee said, "He could claim your God is teaching anti-religious principles, adharma, like stealing, you know." And then Guru Maharaj says, "But by his own reasoning, that lawyer must also have to conclude that not God, but all in this world, including himself, are culprits. Because if God is Advaya Gyan, the perfect whole, and Abhigya Svarat, the fully independent absolute, and if he happens to be a thief, then all here who try to imitate him in that way are envious of him." So he turns the whole argument around, saying if God's a thief, that's very bad. Surely that's an immoral act to steal. So God, who's the most perfect person, should be the most moral person, right? So why would he be stealing? Then you say, "Oh, that's good." Then ordinary people will just imitate that. And that's very bad in society. It's an argument. But Guru Maharaj turns it around and says, well, if God is the absolute good and he's a thief, then if you try to imitate him, then that means you're envious of him. If you believe him to be God. To become jealous of his activities, they must first be thinking that they're equal to him. But that is not the fact. He is absolute. You are a culprit. And nimatsaranam satam. Only those who are not envious can accept this truth. If God is a thief, also we can consider that we have some hope. How is that? And then he goes on to this. But that's the thing. The absolute truth, the absolute good. If Krishna is the absolute good, then everything he does must be absolutely good and perfect. Stealing, lying, cheating, what we consider as bad things, immoral things, like that. So on the opposite side, the ordinary sort of moral dealings and things in the spiritual side, they would be on the lower level. And the so-called immoral things, they would be on the higher level. So Krishna's lying, cheating and stealing is more beautiful, more sweet, right? Yeah. Because he's absolute good.
An idea of a world of ethics and aesthetics. So
yes.
It's beautiful, therefore it doesn't enter into the moral, because morality is somewhere at the lowest.
Yeah, the difference is that because Krishna is absolute good, he's the owner of everything. So how can he be stealing something which belongs to him? It's his own energy, his own potency. Krishna dancing with the gopis, they're supposedly married, have husbands. What's that? So they're going to dance with Krishna. Krishna playing with his own potency in different ways. And he's stealing sweets, not the constitutional way. When Mother Yashoda is giving the sweets to Krishna, that's okay, but it's not much fun. But if Krishna can steal the sweets, it's more fun. Perverted reflection here, right? We can get a thrill out of things, but that's perverted reflection. It's nasty, or it will affect somebody else in a negative way, perhaps. But in the spiritual, that increases the beauty and the ecstasy. When I was a college student, I once went to hear a lecture given by a Goswami. This same part is in the new book, which is I'm preparing, but it's more. This is a short part of it. It's been extracted, so in that one is more the full detail. But there he said, I think a Goswami means not like a sadhu Goswami. It was like a Goswami means from the Goswami family, but he's like a professor, or maybe, I don't know. But he said, because Krishna is a thief, we have some hope. We have erected such strong fencing all around us so that nothing good may enter. We've made a boundary wall, and there are so many locks, so much opposition that nothing can enter. But Krishna is a thief. By stealth, that thief will come for his own interest. So we've tried our best to construct a wall around our heart so that no God consciousness could enter. But as a thief, Krishna will enter, and that is our solace. One day he may stealthily enter as a thief into our heart and capture it. That is our only hope. Consciously we won't invite him to come within our heart. So only the thief God is our solace. So let God be a thief. When goodness comes in that way, stealthily, such mercy is above the consideration of justice. So Krishna, not just occasionally, but his whole thing is everything he does is like in that kind of a way, stealthily, by stealth, by thieving, by indirectly. So it's very, very different than other forms or aspects of the Lord, Narayan and Ramchandra and etc., who are sort of acting by constitution. But Krishna is always acting by stealth and coming indirectly. So that he takes pleasure in that, in this kind of way. of being. So let God steal our hearts. So there's one verse, one devotee said, he said, oh, your to the Lord Krishna, your mind has been stolen by the gopis. So take my mind for yourself. Yeah. There was one Mohammedan gentleman living in the Hooghly district of Kolkata. His name was Haji Muhammad Mahasim. He was a bachelor and owned much property, a rich man, but of a very charitable disposition. In Hooghly there is a big mosque commemorated to his name. He used to give charity stealthily. He would move around in the poorest areas of the city at night, disguised in very plain clothes, and unseen he would throw bags of coins into the dwellings. If money comes stealthily to someone in such a way, it is not considered undesirable. And if Krishna comes stealthily into our hearts as a thief, how easily we may get him. But such dealings are all above justice. They are in the plane of mercy. Above the plane of justice, in the land of mercy, affection and love, such things are possible. The good enters stealthily into the bad, the undesiring party, the exploiter, and makes him good. First, we must understand our present undesirable position as an exploiter. The conditioned soul is the exploiter of nature, but in actuality, he's being exploited by matter. We have to be able to see clearly the gain and the loss in this interaction. First of all, we must be able to discriminate properly between matter and spirit. There is the action, and behind it, the consciousness. So what is consciousness of the human being, the conditioned soul? How is it and where is it directed? In a very basic and a very deep way from the root. It's directed towards exploitation for me, for myself. What I can get, how I can... So many things. And Srila Swami Maharaj gave this example. There are two men. One has eyes but is crippled. The other can move but he has no eyes. Matter, though moving, has no feeling. It is not the conscious party. That position belongs to the man who is endowed with feeling. Who is more important, the feeler or the felt? The criterion of happiness is confined in the feeler, and we have to consider, is happiness necessary? And if so, why is it necessary? Happiness is possible only in the subjective existence. It is possible for the soul. And avoiding this material engagement, one may feel more happiness. He will be atmaram, self-satisfied. So that's to say, okay, the feeler, the soul, is the feeler of happiness. So nothing and no one can make you happy. Say, oh, if I marry you, that will make me happy. Hello? Or I will make you happy, or something of the environment, material situation, activity, or wealth, power, position, anything. And that's the trick of Maya, isn't it? If I just get this thing, then I'll be happy. And even if you get with great hardship sometimes, even if you achieve that thing, in the beginning it's a novelty, but after some time it's just ordinary. So get the new phone, get the new app phone, and then you get that, and then there's always something else created. And that's happening now as we speak. Somebody somewhere is creating the new thing, which we don't have now. And perhaps all those things, the highest achievement we can have in this world, technologically, on the higher planes of existence, is already old hat, They've gone already far beyond that. For example, like a scientist or deep thinking person, in a moment of contemplation or quietness, they have some inspiration. Ding, the light goes on, eureka. They get some idea, some new aspect or new invention. But it's not really new. They're just tuning in to a plane of consciousness where such a thing is existing already. And that's already been used and discarded by higher beings. It's like you go to the cupboard, you open the cupboard and you find all the old computers all piled up, like junk in the cupboard. And then take one out and say, wow, this is amazing. So the Atmaram, the soul is the feeler. Okay, so happiness can only be within the soul, can come from within. Even they who are Atmaram, who have attained that standard, find more happiness when they come in contact with Paramatma, the Supreme Soul. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the existence of the Atma, of the Super Soul world, is fundamentally established. So even our realization of our own self, our own soul, that is already amazing, far beyond anything. That's like in the Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, that's all described, Dhyana Yoga. See if I can remember that verse. The stage of perfection is reached when all material mental activities are completely controlled by practice of yoga. This is characterized by one's ability to see oneself by the pure mind, I'll explain that, and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, there is complete happiness, and one enjoys himself through transcendental senses. Upon achieving this, he thinks upon achieving this, he thinks there is no greater gain. And this indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising due to material contact. That's in the 6th chapter. And then, of course, Krishna says, Yogi mam api sarvesham, mad kitenantaratmana, shraddhavam bhajate yamam, same yukta mato mata. Of all yogis, the best is my devotee, who always thinks of me, remembers me, serves me, worships me, bows down to me. Man manabhav mad bhakto, majaji mam namaskaru, mama vaishti satyam te, pratijane priyosi me. Like this, become my devotee, bow down, worship me, always remember me. Guru Maharaj says, man manabhav, Srila Prabhupada's translation, always remember me. Guru Maharaj says, give me your heart. Man manabhav, bhav, is the feeling, the emotion. So that's of the heart, really, not of the mind. So that's from Atma to Paramatma. So you can stay at that stage, you can stay at that level, Atmaram, but above the soul is the Super Soul. Tat Savitur, that gives light, consciousness. Varenyam, above the soul is a worshipable, venerable plane of which we are part and parcel, the Super Soul area. So
the Super Soul is not the Paramatma?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you say the realization of the Paramatma, and then above the Paramatma is the Super Soul.
No, Super Soul means Paramatma. Yeah. It's just a translation of Paramatma. Srila Prabhupada translated it as Super Soul. Sometimes in yoga books they say over soul, higher soul, and different ways. But and that also has different levels, of course. But so in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the existence of the higher Atma, the Super Soul world, is fundamentally established. Atmaramas Chamunayo, famous Atmaram verse, Niyagranda Apa Urukrame, Kurvanch Ahoitu King Bhakting Itang Bhuta Guno Hari. Bhagavatam 1.7.10. Sutta Goswami said, all the Atmaramas, those who find satisfaction in the self, and especially those who are situated on the path of spiritual realization, being already free from slavery to matter, feel the desire to serve the Supreme Person with pure devotion. The Lord, being the possessor of all transcendental qualities, is able to attract all living beings, even those who are liberated. So you would think somebody who's liberated and is finding complete fulfillment in their own self-existence and realization of themselves, which is Satchidananda, then how could they be attracted by anything else or something else? Which proves that Krishna is transcendental, because they couldn't be attracted if it was anything from the mundane sensory world, which they've transcended already. But they are irresistibly attracted. This famous Atmarama verse is always given as an example of that, that even the Atmaramas are attracted by Krishna consciousness. And that was in the conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma, he explained the verse in 11 different ways, but by going through the verse, taking it word by word through the verse. That was already an astonishing feat. Like his students were like, wow, Gurudev is fantastic. And then in the conversation with Mahaprabhu, and he's only a young sannyasi, right? Probably at that time 25, 26 years of age. So in the conversation, very humbly, he said, I can say something if you like, if you give me permission. Oh yes, you can try something. 64 different ways of explanation. At that point, Sarvabhauma said, he's not a jiva soul. This is not possible for any jiva soul to have this kind of breadth of knowledge. He must be Narayan himself. So those who are self-sufficient are also attracted by some higher ecstasy. This is the positive proof that higher ecstasy exists. Though of a much finer type, it is real, because the self-sufficient people find joy when coming in contact with that apparently abstract thing. That is the proof that a man who doesn't care for anything of this world, who's almost independent of material existence, can be drawn by that transcendental substance. So it's an apparently abstract thing to people in general. As people say, Christian concepts are very abstract. Some stories from Indian scriptures, mythology. And that's why the British in India, and they're trying to establish the Christian conception, and I'm not at all in any way dissing Christianity as a teaching or as a thought, but I mean the missionaries, part of their preaching was to try and say that Christian was all immoral and debauchery and so on.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, of course. What is this God, running around with all these maidens in the middle of the night, So either that or saying that it was just stories, mythology, made up things around the campfire by some ancient illiterate people who maybe were on magic mushrooms or something. And so they thought it was very primitive, Hindu religion, very primitive. They sit there in a loincloth and daub their body with clay, and eat with their hand instead of cutlery, like civilized people, like that. Consider Shukadeva Goswami, already self-realized from before his birth. He doesn't want anything in this world. Even he doesn't wear any clothes. He only sometimes takes a cup of milk if it comes easily. He doesn't care for anything in this mundane plane. He has quite an independent life. He is Atma Ram, engaged in himself, not in any material objective consciousness. And he has become attracted by something of a seemingly abstract nature. So there must be something above the soul's own subjective existence in a still higher plane, that is adhoksaja, beyond ordinary perception. When that plane comes down to contact us, we can feel it. And when it withdraws, we're helpless. We cannot contact it, cannot touch it. It is similar to the phenomenon of the flying saucer. You've heard of a flying saucer? Yes. Recently it was reported in the newspaper that there was a rumour that a craft of some kind, an unidentified flying object or flying saucer, was coming to make contact with Earth. From here, the Air Force pilots apparently sighted it, but when they tried to follow, it disappeared. The Adhokshaja plane of existence is something like that. It can come down to make contact with us, but when we chase after it, when we try to capture it, suddenly it is nowhere to be found. And actually, these American pilots, this is one example he's giving, but there have been several, but they were following, they were chasing, and then all of a sudden at a certain point, all their instruments went down. The whole power in the planes went off, you know. So they can do like that by electromagnetic thing, manipulate things, you know. So they can play with us, you know. Yeah.
Do you remember in Bhagavatam the name of that boy whose mother was bitten by a snake and passed away?
Parikit, Maharaj. Yeah.
Was it Parikshit?
Yeah.
No, his mother was bit.
Oh, okay. By Narada.
Narada. Yeah, and there was a part of the story where he was describing how he was going in the forest, climbing everywhere.
All the different places, yeah.
And then in one moment he started to meditate, and then the God came to him, and it was such a beautiful. And then he withdrawn, and as soon as he withdrawn, he jumped up and he starts to run around, and he ran and tried to, chase him and get it, and then he just fell down, so exhausted, and started to cry. And then he heard the voice again saying, "Don't worry, child. This life you won't see me again."
Yes.
The idea of chasing behind
of course.
what came to you once, but never be able to.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like trying to arrive at the horizon. The closer you think you are to it, it's still always, you never get there, because it's always beyond and always higher plane of existence. That just as with the flying saucer, the airplane pilot sees something is coming towards them, but when they give chase, it disappears. So a world of more efficient machinery exists on the other side. Based on their experiences, those pilots and other aeronautical experts are now admitting the existence of some higher plane of life. It's all been covered up by the CIA, of course, Roswell and all these incidents, But it's pretty obvious, they're out there. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami informs Maharaj Pariksit, Prayena muneo rajan nibritya vidhi sedatha nargunya sta ramantisma gunanu khatane hare. O King, even the most advanced transcendentalists, who are above the regulative principles and restrictions, feel the greatest pleasure in describing the glories of the Supreme Lord. There is such taste in the topics of the Lord, in his names, forms, pastimes, paraphernalia and associates. All are existing in the higher plane. So nateshu ramate buddha. They don't have any get pleasure in discussing any mundane topics. It's all become dry and tasteless and stale. But because of the effect of Maya, it seems to hold out the promise that you can enjoy with this. And indeed, in the beginning, it may seem like that. The sensual experience, and that's like nectar, but it will become poison in the end, for sure. And the spiritual, like poison in the beginning, and nectar in the end. Like the verse in Upadeshamrit about chanting the holy name, Rupa Goswami says, person who has jaundice, a diseased condition, and because of that disease, something sweet, like sugar candy, tasting bitter to them, because their body is diseased. It's a sweet thing, tasting very bitter. But then if they take that regularly, daily, as the disease is destroyed at the root, then gradually they begin to taste the sweetness. Oh, this is very sweet, very wonderful. So it's like that. Just the opposite. And all are, but how are we to prove the existence of this higher plane? We cannot enter at our will to have any experience of it. Then what is the proof that such a plane exists at all? Only that some accomplished transcendentalists of this world, experts of the highest class, find that something is disturbing their complete experience of self-satisfaction. That plane is disturbing them and attracting them towards itself. In the present day also we find that there is a particular group of people who do research in order to prove scientifically that there is rebirth, transmigration of the soul. Through methods such as hypnosis, they claim that in their previous birth they were in a certain place. Yes, I was here, and this was my room. I put my things here in this chest. They are still left there. And later, when they are actually taken to that place, it appears just as they have described. Those who want to show scientific proof of rebirth are collecting such examples, which are demonstrated as proof of the soul's transmigration, its continued existence birth after birth. In a similar way, the Atmaramas, those who have superseded any charm of this mundane plane, stand as proof that there is a higher dimension of existence, because such an area is irresistibly attracting them. So that higher plane does exist, and it's not mundane. Shukadeva Goswami says, "You all know that I'm well established in the non-material world, that no charm for any form of the material world exists in me." It must be like that. If you can go around naked, right, not even wearing any clothes, you'd have to be. Right? Everybody has some ego consciousness, some body consciousness, so even long time, spiritual practitioners. I remember once, Srila Govinda Maharaj, Gurudev, he gave the example. So he's a devotee. Say, "Oh yes, Prabhu, you're not the body or the soul." If you put a slap to his face, they go, "What?" It's complete, identification, isn't it? See, so that otherwise, if you were Atmaram, it'd just be like hitting a dog, hitting the dog next to you or hitting the wall or something. There'd be no reaction. So that's incredible. Even, when he was traveling, that example, his father, Vyasadeva, even the ladies covered themselves. They were bathing in the pond and they covered themselves when Vyasadeva. But when Shukadeva came, nothing. He's like a child, If a small child, like 3-4 years old toddler, going naked, well, you don't think anything, right? There's no shyness, because there's no lust or anything. So that, he was like that, And that's why Guru Maharaj was saying, Shukadeva Goswami was to be the transmitter of the knowledge of the Bhagavatam, because he was Atmaram, and everybody knew it and accepted it, and so they could believe, that if he will give delivery to this knowledge, like a transparent medium, there's no any prejudice in him of any side, even spiritually, to this way, to this side or that side or the other side. It will be just a transmitted flow, guaranteed, and they're very happy with that. Vyasadeva, Parashara, and all the rishis who were there. And so that when he came into the assembly, they all stood, and even though he was sort of junior, to them, supposed to, and he didn't go around doing dandavats. He just walked in and sat down on the chair in the front, and said Parikrat Maharaj, what is your question, O King? Like that. So he says, but some new unknown type of leela, some ecstatic pastimes full of personality have attracted my heart. Don't think that this is mundane. No mundane thing can have any attraction for me. This is transcendental. You may take it for certain. I stand as evidence to the fact that there is a transcendental world made of higher dignity, higher quality. I stand as evidence to the fact because nothing of mundane character can affect me or disturb my balance, my equilibrium. The equilibrium of such full all-spiritual consciousness cannot be disturbed by any worldly attraction. Some supernatural attraction has come to disturb my equilibrium and attract me towards itself.
Is it the quotation from Bhagavatam?
Pardon?
Is it the quotation from Bhagavatam?
Yeah. 1:7-10. This verse describes the attraction felt for the super-subjective plane of life by those who have already attained self-realization. So it's a good verse if we can memorize it, and then if we're talking to people who are, Gyanis or that type, very carefully. We don't want to make offence or anything like that. Or we can quote, Atmaramas chumuneo nirgrant aparukrame kurvant ahoitukim bhaktim itang bhuta guno hari. Those who are in the disciplic order, the lineage of descending knowledge in devotion, may experience a lesser degree of intensity than what is described here, but still through their sukriti, their fortune and their shraddha, faith, those devotees feel themselves to be most extremely fortunate. They are like witnesses. Though they are very insignificant, they are the most fortunate witnesses to something that is infinitely great. So this is the difference. If you look at a jnani or a yogi, and there's many on the internet, there's many around, aren't they? This Jaggi Vasudev, they call him, what's his name? That's his actual name, but Guruji. Anyway, there's many, and of course, you look at them and their so-called qualifications and experiences, and they may have some siddhi. So you look on the surface, it may appear that they have achieved more, spiritual things than a devotee. So, but the point is here, he's saying though their so-called experience may be less, may seem to be lower, but because of their sukriti, they have fortune, good fortune, that they are in touch with something else, something very high, and they're witnesses of that. So as Guru Maharaj says, to have just some connection with the soil of that land, through the line, disciplic succession, dasa, 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 anudas. That's much more fortunate than being a yogi who can experience this and do things and maybe powers and siddhis and all that. So their feeling is, the devotees, here is something extraordinary, something unexperienced, and my inner heart is hankering for that. So for the devotee, what their qualification is, their hankering and their desire for the truth. You could say their separation from that, from their ideal of what they're going towards and want to attain, that is their qualification, not what they have attained or how they are now at the moment, right? All the charms of this world are forever finished for me. Now if I want to live at all, I shall live for that, at any risk. My whole future is invested in that wonderful thing. I can't stand to live without that great thing. I must have it. I must attain such a position. Otherwise, I do not like or want any sort of existence. I've had a little taste, a peep into that beauty. Now that is my life. My life is there. If I want to live at all, I must get it. Without it, everything is tasteless. I've finished with all other standards of life. They hold no charm for me. They're all tasteless. I only want that thing. That is the fulfillment of my life. Life is worth living only because it has got that ultimate connection. And how is one to attain that fulfillment? Only with the association of those who are eager for it. Birds of a feather flock together. There are others of similar nature, and if you want such a thing, then go and mix with them and try to get it by mutual help. In that field of divine aspiration, that's where I got the title from. There are the experts and the beginners. The newcomers advance by the association of those who are in a position to help them. And through giving their assistance, the helpers are also helped, given nourishment, as so many things of substance are drawn out of them. That's the end of that chapter.
Really beautiful.
So it's mutual exchange, like that verse in the Gita. The verse that I'm going to say.
Smarantas Mariyantamscha, something like that.
Actually, that is one, but the one I was thinking was saying The devotee is always talking about me.
Oh, Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, Bhagavad Gita, yeah.
Chapter Shloki.
And the word is used Ramanti, and Rama means conjugal feeling, attraction and love. So they feel that sort of experience, spiritual type of experience, in their discussion and exchanging about me. And that's the thing, that's the real thing, the hankering, you know. Not achieving this or achieving that. It's all going to be finished. Life is very short, right? And we don't know when death will come. So our only capital will be how much is our hankering. If you look in the person's soul at the time of death, get the meter out, the EMF meter. You know, they're having this thing now, electromagnetic frequency meter, because it's 5G, and you can switch it on, and wherever you are, it will show you the level of radiation. My friends ordered one on the internet. So by that way, you will measure the soul of the person who's dying, leaving the body, where they're going to, what is their destination after in the future, by how much is their hankering for the truth. That's the thing, because, you know, that would be the criterion, the what do you call it, the yardstick of how to judge it or how to see it. How much is their soul, their heart, is feeling the separation and hankering for the Lord. That I want it, but I can't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there is
Frustration.
these two feelings, like, okay, we have this highest goal, and for which everything exists, for the love pay.
Can you get me Bhagavad Gita?
Right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is what we sing in Bhakti Vinod's song. It doesn't matter what I will become next birth, an insect or an animal or a tree or whatever.
Yeah.
As long as I have a service connection, right? So that hankering, the separation feeling, but also the feeling like it's up to you. I don't feel fit to go to that higher. I just want to have that connection and your mercy for.
Yeah. Well, that is part of the paradox, that we hanker for it and we want it so much, but we don't have the qualification to receive it or something, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's part of it. So yeah, this verse I've seen, Bhagavad Gita 10:9, Machita madgata prana puriyanta parasparam katayantas cha magnityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Always thinking of me, 9, yeah. Always thinking of me, those surrendered souls converse about me. See, madchitta means in their consciousness. Chitta can mean many things. Consciousness, it can mean mind, it can mean intelligence, heart, you know, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, the heart, yeah. So, in this context, always thinking of me, conversing about me, enlightening one another with the nectar of their devotional realizations, ever content and ecstatic in their divine natures. That's translation there. Yeah, so no question of prajalpa there. That will be. They find very much satisfaction in this, tushanti cha. It's like in that verse in the Bhagavatam, isn't it? Tushti, pushti, like as a person who's eating, with every mouthful, 3 effects. Their hunger is satisfied, their taste is satisfied, and their whole being is nourished. And it's the proof that what they're eating is the real food, not some, paper or some other thing. Yes. So tushanti cha, they get so much satisfaction. And he says here, I'm reading the commentary just to finish. Up to the divine relationship of parenthood, Vatsalya, there's the feeling of satisfaction. Furthermore, Ramanticha, because he says, Tushyanticha, Ramanticha. So not just that, but also this, right? Just as a wife enjoys a conjugal relationship with her husband, the devotee similarly feels such ecstasy in my intimate company when speaking about me. This has been mentioned by the previous acharyas. Yeah, so... and then that other verse here, in the this Chatushloki, chapter 10, verses 8 to 11, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then in the verse where Krishna says, or in the translation of Srila Swami Maharaj, I, living within the heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. And then Guru Maharaj is saying, well, what ignorance does he mean there? Because these devotees don't have any ignorance. They don't have avidya, which is like ignorance as in illusion, like mistaking something for something else. Like, like thinking you're the body, that type of ignorance. They don't have that because the type of devotees he's talking about in these verses is the Ananya Bhakta. So then it must mean something else. That darkness is the darkness of separation. And Krishna is saying, I come with my light of my personal presence to allay that feeling of separation, that pain of separation.
Lamentation.
That's the meaning, deeper meaning of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jiva Goswami. They've given that. This is, layered, multi-layered verses in the Gita, especially here.
Give the example of the mother who holds her child so close, and then for a second she imagines that something is going wrong with her, and she's freaked out by that. The child is very close.
Yes.
But then she's so worried to lose him that those feelings come to her. And then, she looks at the child again,
Yeah.
and it's relief.
Okay, yeah, this is slightly, it's also in Sri Guru and His Grace, Guru is explaining there when he's talking about just the last part of the book, and there's 4 kinds of feeling in ecstatic, in union, like separation and union. That's called prema vaichitya, which means when the lover and beloved are actually united, but then some feeling comes in there, we're going to be separated. Well, why should that be? Where's that coming from? There's just a feeling, it's a feeling or an emotion which is there to increase the attachment. So this is very high thing. But yes, that example could be similar, like this. It's because of intense love and intense attachment, of course.
So in that stage, she has to go back to make them see him again, so that feeling is.
Of course, it's necessary. It's necessary for union that there be separation. Yeah, it's a dynamic process. Even just ordinary in this world, in ordinary sort of mechanics. If you stretch the bow, it can't be like that all the time. To release the tension. Then again, like that. This is perverted reflection of the dynamism in the original absolute. Even in this world, electromagnetism, force of attraction. These electrons and neutrons circumambulating kept in orbit, or the planets and the sun. There's a force of attraction. Here it's electromagnetism or something. I don't know. I'm not a physicist, but where's that coming from? The original all-attractive sun, is Krishna. And Krishna and Radha. So that's why when Krishna, in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada gives this expression, the cynosure of all eyes. Just everyone is automatically pulled and attracted. He's got the greatest drawing power. So Krishna is the greatest force or power of attraction is Krishna, and so he's able to attract Cupid, Madana Mohana, but Madana Mohana Mohini, the attractor of Cupid. What is that? So there was the example of Krishna, Krishna was, in Vrindavan, and then was supposed to meet, Radharani, something happened, meeting couldn't happen, so Krishna was somewhere in a cave, in a grove, lamenting and so much hankering. So the yogis, they're trying to attain God consciousness, experience the Lord in the heart. So Vishnu, by definition, is the one self-satisfied Lord, has everything, doesn't need anything, is completely self-sufficient. Natevidu Shvatakatim hi Vishnum, Prahlad says, seek that one inside everything and inside your own heart, who is that connection with him. You won't have any hankering for anything else. But that self-satisfied Lord is hankering, is, you could say, lost and without herself. Yeah.
Very powerful anymore.
Yeah. That's right. Krishna without his Shakti is that way.
How beautiful.
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Jai.
Sripad, Svarup,
You
Tridandi,
do
Swami,
chant.
Jai.
Jai, really, really beautiful.
Yeah,
That's
that's beautiful.
Yeah. It's alright, you can just tap away in your own time.
Should I say?
Yeah, please.
Hari Hari Rama Krishna Hare Rama
Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chanda Kadharara Shiva Shakur Bhakta Vinda Jaya Rupa Sanatram Bhatta Raghunatha and Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Raghunatha Jai Kokai Chanana Kunda Jai Devinana Amrita Purana Jai Goshai Kuvidana Data Tanzavata Padari Chagasa Charana se Bhakta Sannivasa Aya Pramama Eya Virasa Jai Gochayna Bhaja Kolovasa Shivada Krishna Nishalila Kori Akasha Nande Baloha Aja Vrindavan and the Shri Guru Vaishnava Aja Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai, Shri Shri Gaura Nitai ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Bhakti Vigna Vinashna Bhagavan Shingadeva ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari 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 Bol. What's that thing?
Which thing?
Well,
I don't see.
this.
Oh, this was, it's a lamp.
Oh, a lamp. It wasn't on though.
Well, it switched off like in the last moment because
Oh,
the battery finished.
oh.
So it's like two lamps which like balance the light. But on the recording it looks very, very nice.
Joanna, do you think you can find something like to make a light here or something?